All right, everyone. Welcome back to Stacking the Deck. You may have noticed that we're missing one of our hosts this week, Easton Evans. He's on a beach somewhere, enjoying a very, very lovely time in Jamaica. You know, he's getting centered. He's becoming one with the world. Just really honing his focus and thinking about the next steps in the TCG world. No.
Hopefully sun disappearing on a beach somewhere.
That's right. That's right. And for those who don't know, last time he was on a beach somewhere preparing for something, he won a Caster Cup. So hey, there might be something there. I'm joined today by a good friend of mine, Bats. I think some of y'all might know Bats from their Discord handle, but Bats, I'd like you to introduce yourself. Kind of for folks that don't know who you are, what you're about. Why don't you give us the whole spiel?
My name's Matt. I'm an alcoholic, and I play trading card games. A lot of people know me as Bats in the community from like MetaZoo, where a lot of us are from. Yeah.
Okay. So we're being humble today. For those that don't know, Nat is essentially like, I would say one of your biggest strengths is like community building. I know that's not something, I don't know if you think of yourself like that, but I always thought that your ability to sort of, I don't know, organize was really paramount, especially in regards to MetaZoo. But you also worked for a company called Cardio, and Cardio did a lot of like, I'm just gonna butcher this, so you just correct me because I'm like half stupid or whatever. But Cardio did like distribution and like hosted a lot of tournaments and had some websites and or all kinds of stuff. And I know there's like tournament software. I think Cardio today is a little bit more like software as a service, but in its earlier phases, I know you were sort of like critical when it came to at least hosting like organized play, and then you had some roles in regards to like the logistics of getting these card games shipped out and things like that, right? Does that sound right?
As far as logistics goes, like that's mostly Dan and Mitch,
Okay.
who people who watch your Whatnot and stuff might know, or their Whatnot. I don't work with Cardio anymore. We can talk about that later. But I definitely did help like fulfill stuff when I could. But yeah, when we were Caster Society, definitely ran a bunch of tournaments and stuff like that. And I was a big part of organizing those. Thanks for the props for that. Try to help engage with the community, get people together. Just like hanging out with people playing some cards, as we all do.
Yeah, but the thing is, gamers are like, they're like squirrely little creatures. Everybody has like a lot of really strong opinions, and I'm right. I know this thing. This was my deck. I made this deck. And then meanwhile, you're trying to parse through this, like, I'm thinking of some of the events that you had hosted, and even on the Discord, there would be like 12-hour long tournaments. And for most people, how do I say this? Would not have, they wouldn't have made it through the 12 hours. So I I remember I'd hop in the judge chat and I'd be like, "Hey, Bats, you doing okay? You hanging in there?"
No, yeah, there's definitely some long nights, especially when we were doing the like weekly championship series for MetaZoo as Caster Society. So just like every week, 30, 40 people playing MetaZoo and having to corral all those people together. And it was a lot, but I enjoy it. It's a good experience. Just like giving people a platform to do what they enjoy.
Feel free to disagree with me, but as I get further in my beverage here, there will be more hot takes. But I think really Caster Society made MetaZoo like happen. whether MetaZoo was ever supposed to be a big thing or not, I don't know. But the tournaments,
Yeah,
the competitive atmosphere, the engagement is it has to have been a catalyst or part of what made it take off the way it did initially. And if anybody could document that playbook and sort of wrap their mind around how to potentially replicate it, I would think it would be you. Like you played an integral role in making all of that happen. And I don't know, the challenge with a lot of this is how much of it was intentional. Like so much of it just felt like, okay, we're all just like figuring it out. Like
right.
something's
Yeah.
happened in the Discord today, and oh, the there's a whatnot with the duck races going on, and oh, this is happening here, and it all just kind of like
Mhm.
snowballed. But I always
Yeah.
loved just the really Caster Society. And I'll be honest with you, Caster Society sort of turned into a different thing later on, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like
If he's
more of a
still here, we could riff on that more because he was there with it also. But we can get into a little. Definitely
I don't
turned from a fun
I'm not
project into more corporate, but it was still good.
I'm not trying to bash it. It's not like I hate MetaZoo Hour or Boo Caster Society. It's
Yeah.
more of just like this is all observational. That's all,
Right.
you know. And I think of myself as like outside looking in, and I just remembered that part of the roots for MetaZoo and Caster Society really was some of those like the New England Lakeside tournament. And oh my gosh, that, by the way, that format was cursed. If you know, you know. Turns out
Very first.
if somebody suggests something broken like Koos, don't listen to them. Just don't like,
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
funny. Just let that be. Let that be in the game.
We
And then
definitely made Elliot, Logan, and Emilio stay up for days trying to figure out how Koos actually works because of that. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
yeah.
In your opinion, like in your opinion, how would you what advice would you give to a game? And we'll segue into a little bit about what you're working on next. But is there anything that you learned while running some of these events, or maybe at least from these early days, that you think you'd like to share with other folks that are trying to grow their gaming community?
Uh, yeah. I mean, you just got to keep people engaged. Like y'all talked about it on here a few times. Like people can move on quickly if they don't really like mess with your brand or anything. So just like organizing events, like having um, fun activities for people to like do is important.
How do you organize the events? Was it just sort of like, hey, Discord, everybody, we're on this day, we're doing this thing? Would you run polls? Say I'm a new
uh,
game and I don't know how to do that. What would what would you suggest?
well, for Cast Society, I think it was a big planning phase. Like we would make because we did the championship series, which people seem to enjoy. So we would just make a fun like format or do like standard play and just have like a series where people could play and win prizes for playing. So I think you just need to, come up with a game plan, like put up some products, just like and market it. And people in the community like free stuff for playing. So they'll just, play your game, learn how to play out of it, like get some cool product and keep coming back.
Yeah, the challenge. So outside looking in again, the challenge with that was, in hindsight's 2020, but Caster Society was putting up all that pricing
Yes,
from y'all's own coffer, so to speak.
that's
And
correct.
in hindsight, it in my opinion, it really should be up to the developer, the game company, to be supplying the intermediary that's trying to host this, to make it like a symbiotic relationship. Otherwise, y'all are
Yeah.
just in the neg, right? You're like just negative on, hey,
Yeah.
we ponied up this product and it's gone, and we're
Yeah.
helping build up your brand. You are getting
Mhm.
something out of it and helping recognition for Caster Society, but
Right.
it wasn't equal in my
Yeah.
eyes.
Not to like toot our own horns or anything. Like it was a definitely a successful thing we were doing, but I I think if more games would focus on doing that themselves instead of relying on the community to run those sort of events, they
Hmm.
would probably keep the attention of their communities better. So
Hmm.
definitely getting people to actually play your game is important for your game success instead of just like, here's a cool new shiny like card, which I mean people like collectors and even like people who
Hmm.
play like the shiny cardboard, you know. But you gotta host events for
Hmm.
engagement. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love me some shiny cardboard. I'm on the record for that. But
of course. Yeah,
you gotta give some. I mean, it's a game, right? Like the
yeah.
TCG stand, the
You gotta play
G
it.
is the game part. Even if it's
Yeah.
not like a highly functional game, you still have to sort of just play or do something with it, right? I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it. But I really would like to see, future games thinking about, okay, you know, we got to get this product in the hands of the community. It can't just be
Mhm.
something, hey, we printed these cards and it's like opening a lemonade stand in the desert and nobody knows, right? People
Yeah.
people will want to buy the lemonade because they're thirsty. They're in the desert, but only if
Mhm.
they can find you.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and you got to give that, like, you got to do a little sample. Say, hey, here's so and so. You're really good at doing this. Why don't you go
Mhm.
see if we can do a TTS league? And TTS leagues are always weird to me too.
Yeah,
It is the best, like, lowest barrier of entry maybe when you're thinking about an indie first launching it. You just need people to try your game,
for
but
sure.
you don't want to get stuck in the TTS limbo, you know,
Yeah.
where only play happens on TTS and then people are like, I don't know, I want to play with cards. So
Yeah. Yeah, people, yeah, playing physical product is important for sure. I guess like backtracking a little bit, like if you are a game developer that has a game, and there is someone in your community who is hosting like events that people are actually playing, like prop those people up and support them, give them, you know, special product, stuff like that.
mhm.
Like people playing your game and promoting it is very important. So you should prop those people up instead of shutting them down, which is yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know the stories, like we don't have to get into them, but
No, no, when you make me think about it, you really should bring those folks into playtesting, bring those folks into R&D, or bring those folks into whatever internal processes you're setting up, especially when
yeah.
you notice a community champion, because they have the pulse of what's going on in the meta. Data is just really fractured when you're an indie TCG. So
Oh yeah.
you have to get a little, you know, you have to talk to people about what's going on a store to store level or even at a kitchen table level. Hey, what are you guys playing? How does the game feel? You have to constantly, be
Hmm.
asking questions and iterating. It might be one of those situations where somebody finally gets your product and they're already taking a leap of faith and they just did not have fun playing it. Maybe there was a deck that was too dominant. um, they're not going to go to you. Chances are they're not going to go to you, the producer, the the director of your game, and they're not going to say, "Hey, change this, that, and the other." They'll just never play your game again, and then they'll
Yep.
tell somebody how negative it was to play it.
Hmm.
So what that requires you to do is you have to be going out asking, your community, hey, this just shipped. What do you guys think of it? What are y'all
Yeah.
seeing? It's a little bit more hands-on.
What can
Um,
we do better? Yeah.
yeah.
You're not Magic, you're not Pokemon, you don't have those 30 years of like, you know, we know what we're doing. You gotta actually
Mhm.
talk to your community.
Well, and those communities are already built and they are very vocal. Like
Yeah.
Konami knows when Snake Eyes is broken or whatever. They just they just go
Do they
re.
though? 'Cause they didn't do any good bands.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
They still got to sell their product.
Yeah, yeah. Konami is a business, so and I'm not saying don't. It would be lovely if you got to the scale of Konami, but also don't be Konami because some of these businesses have some questionable practices as well. But that's beside the point. My whole thing is they don't have to go, they don't have to go knocking on doors to find out what people think. They hear it loud and clear. Funny enough, Konami recently put out I think it was like a tweet or something saying that they'll ban people if they're being too visceral towards Konami staff or the game, citing that they have a whole policy for threats and such.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if people are actually being threatening, but people just saying like this game sucks, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I agree. If there's any like bodily harm type of threats, for sure, big issue. But the streamers that I was listening to, they were citing sources of people just saying, "Oh, this is a trash game. Why would you play like that kind of?" I call it gamer talk.
Dang, where have we seen that before?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, gamer talk. That could be its own segment. There's a whole language. And I've had to be checked on that a few times. Like, I don't talk like that in my normal life or like around other people professionally, but amongst gamers, sometimes I will just be like, "Oh, that's trash. That's trash. Don't play that." And I mean that like a loving, almost like almost of a parody kind of way. But if you're not in these gaming communities, you would just miss that. So every now and then I have to sort of check myself and say, wait, who am I talking to again? Okay. They might not understand this kind of language. So going back to the community stuff too, we can use MetaZoo as an example, but you did this for other games. When it comes to learning a new game, what are some things that you think a producer should look for when maybe establishing rules and such like that? There's a whole onboarding process that I'll be honest with you, even with some games, I open up the rule book and I just go, not today. So, and there usually needs to be somebody that is like Kurt or whoever, or you, somebody who can look at the rule book, interpret the information, say, hey, I'm interested in this, and I'm willing to evangelize the product. But how do you make that? How do you reduce the friction on that to get that person willing to sort of promote your brand or learn your game? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, first, it'd be good to make sure your rule books aren't convoluted and actually easy to understand. That's like a big problem if you have way too many rules that are, way out there and contradictory. Like your games can be hard to follow. But definitely if you notice someone in your community that actually understands everything and like knows how to teach people your game and knows all the rules and is probably like correcting people all the time, definitely put a spotlight on that person and potentially hire them and or just promote them in some way.
I thought this would be an interesting idea. And in my experience, playtesting doesn't work like this, but there should almost be, this sounds stupid, okay? So just bear with me. But there should almost be like playtesting of the rules, right? So you find somebody who's really green, they just know nothing about the game or whatever, and you bring them in and you sort of like time or measure the amount of questions or barriers they hit when they try to learn your game. There's a streamers named Team APS that I like to watch. They're Yugioh guys. Everybody knows Yugioh is just stupid complicated and modern. So what they did,
PhD, right?
yeah, you gotta have a PhD. Oh my gosh. And the sad part is there's no actual reward, like that having that knowledge doesn't really do anything for you anyway.
That's probably true for most games, but yeah.
True. But the amount of time, the time investment, the onboarding process. But they invited a friend of theirs on the podcast, and they did starter decks, and without knowing anything, they just let them play through the sequences to the best of
Yeah.
their ability, following the rule book, and it took them forever to get through. So I could only wonder if I was a company that I would probably want to consider doing an exercise similar to that, where you get two people with your rule book. They don't know anything about the game and they just play through it.
Yeah.
Playtesting usually happens with just a group of people that already know your game and they're just like, we're balancing. So what are
Yeah,
your
if you can't grab a person off the street and teach them how to play your game, you should rewrite your game.
Mhm.
Like there's no like yes, there should be complexity and like card interactions and stuff like that, but if the base mechanics of your game aren't easy for everyone to understand, like you need to go back to the drawing board,
Oh,
in
what
my
this
opinion.
yeah, what this thing do? I don't know. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, like weird card interactions, keywords and stuff that people gotta look up, sure, but
Mhm.
base mechanics like, oh, I draw at the start of my turn and I attack when I attack I do this, stuff like that. Like if people can't pick up like the basics, then what are you
Yeah.
doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. And there's a balance too. If it's too
Sure.
simple, people won't enjoy playing it.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
spectrum. Like you have it really is tricky from like the product design and R&D standpoint, where you have the simple end of the spectrum where okay, we want this to be accessible for everyone to play. But if you're a veteran player and you're like, okay, so no hand traps, no interaction on my opponent's turn, no like no gosh, where's like chain blocking and stuff like that, when you start getting
yeah.
it like into the advanced levels, then those folks are just they just write off your game. So it has to scale. It still has to
That's
be
true.
user friendly.
I mean there's no like really interaction in Pokemon though, and it's still like pretty competitive. Um you, sure there's like knowing the proper sequencing and stuff like that, but
That's actually my
yeah,
biggest critique for Pokemon, coming from
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh. I've been playing a little Pokemon lately, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, but I do miss the I miss the no our turn.
Yeah, sure.
We like to share here.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, they have a
No, but
meme.
you're right. There's definitely a balance for sure.
Yeah, and another thing to consider too. I always love using the home building philosophy. Your base set is the foundation, right? You don't build
Right.
a mansion on top of sand. So if your base set is booty cheeks, then you should probably you. I don't really know how you reevaluate that. You errata or reprint.
Yeah,
I don't know, but making sure you do your due diligence right out of the gate, I think is critical. Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
Otherwise,
that's
you're
why.
living on patch notes for the rest of your game.
Yeah, a lot of initial play testing is definitely important if you're about to release a new game. You can't just throw it all out there without testing it and think people will enjoy it. And like, sure, maybe it'll sell because like Kickstarter songs and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
then what?
Right.
If no one actually like enjoys it,
Yeah,
which I mean, it's happened quite a few times. So
and that's the whole other end of the. It is an ecosystem. I've said it before. Like the player, collector, investor. You want everybody to coexist.
yeah,
Um, but golly, the players, if they really love your game, they're gonna keep you through the long winters. Like
yeah,
the game might not be
honestly,
going well, but hey, we got 100 players that they just keep buying sets and playing the game. And then at some point you do hit like a spike or there's a big shift, and then you get more
sure.
collectors in, and that influx, they start looking at old stuff. Um, I've seen this enough with even the big three, you know, Magic. I'm not as up on it as other folks, but I will speak to Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. Those games both in the mid 2000s ish. Those games were, people were calling into question, are these still going to be games? Yu-Gi-Oh was supposed to be dead several times. I don't know if people know that, but
Yeah,
um,
people have been saying that for years.
yeah. So you just really have
People
to
having the
sustain.
they're having like the biggest in-person tournament like ever soon, like 8,000 people or something like that at the YCS signed up.
Yeah, in Austin, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 7,500, close to 8,000, something like that.
Yeah, they're doing nationals in Austin this year, which is
Yeah.
I might have to pay
So,
a visit.
doesn't look very dead to me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I'll come down and play some Edison. Hey, you know.
Yeah, yeah, come down for sure. Even if like we don't play at the venue, there's plenty of places to play around town. So
I'm all about bar locals. That's where I'm
yeah,
at these
same,
days.
same. Yeah, me and Sean been hitting up Emerald Tavern and a couple other places here in Austin. So definitely feel that.
Oh
Getting
man.
some beers and playing with the homies. That's what it's about.
Most definitely. And listen, I don't have anything against the LGS. I think the LGS is critical to a lot of game success, but
Yeah, sure.
also I don't know if it's been fully explored, but figuring out the kitchen table bar, creating a bar locals game, I think there's a model in that as well. I haven't really
Mhm.
seen that be so much of a thing, but fast casual, semi-competitive, something you could sit down with your buddy and be like, "Hey, you want to play whatever this game is?"
Yeah.
I think there is something there, and maybe that's a different product, like your sealed decks or whatever. I don't know. That's the one thing that I'm a little out on is engineering products and stuff like that. What do you think? I don't know how much you want to go into this. My understanding, you've been working on your own game a little bit. Can you? Is there anything you
Uh,
share about that, or do we want to save that for another time?
I can talk about it a little. It kind of does go into the bar locals type of
Okay.
discussion. Good
Cool.
pivot. Um, yeah, so Commander, like Magic Commander, definitely one of those like bar local type of games, multiplayer, trading card games, board games, stuff like that. Definitely more bar friendly, tavern friendly than, the 1v1 sweaty competitive type of environment at a LGS. But yeah, me and John, and people might know John if they're familiar with MetaZoo. He was the lead game designer or director working on Cryptid Clash. We were contracted by MetaZoo to make. Um, I think, yeah, a couple of months ago, we were chatting and kind of just like, what if I mean, who knows what's happening with MetaZoo? People still like folklore, cryptids, stuff like that. So, um, what if, and there's not really a commander competitor. So, I mean, what if we just tried to make one from the ground up? Um, Him and I have been kind of working on that for the past few months, and Stab Crab Games, who's been on the podcast recently, are going to start doing some initial play testing for us to see, what we got. Try to, uh, test it out, see if it's a viable idea, make some tweaks, stuff like that before we really start promoting it or focusing on it. Definitely very ground floor pre-alpha project, but yeah, kind of exciting. Definitely trying to get the like social gaming, go to a bar, hang out with your friends vibe, commander style game
Hmm.
that
That's
has
really
folklore.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I had no idea that's what you were going for, but that fits perfect because that really
Yeah.
is there is a niche there where it's or niche. Golly, is it?
Niche,
I don't,
niche.
is it niche or niche? I don't know.
Who
Every
knows?
every time I get
Potato.
corrected, y'all roast me in the comments or whatever. But you know, I really think there is just room for that to be even being the kind of game that sits. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. There's a board game shelf at breweries and stuff usually,
Yeah.
and I love that shelf. Yeah,
Yeah.
the cards kind of stick together, and usually you're missing pieces, but that's sort of the fun. And
Hmm.
maybe I'm just kind of twisted, and I just enjoy that kind of stuff. But um, people love playing games and social spaces. Nothing wrong with the You know what would be cool? This might actually work in Austin. I'm gonna pitch this to you. What if
Sure.
it would be kind of wild if y'all had like booster boxes in the brewery and
Yeah.
yeah, because the brewery that I go to, there's a lot of local vendors and they'll just like have some of their products in the front of the brewery um,
Mhm.
for sale or sometimes for free. But that could be something to think about too. Impulse buy after you've had a couple beers.
Yeah, no,
Let me crack this
that's
pack with a
definitely
jackalope on it.
exactly. That's one of the goals. Like, there's that like rogue brewery or whatever with like the bad squatch beer, like
Mhm.
just like partnering with someone like those that make like the cryptid themed beers, folklore themed beers, just like, making a product with them. Like, here's our booster box for your brewery, like get people to play it. Here's like 4 decks.
Ah,
Um,
that's a good idea. I really like that. As a
yeah.
as a as an alcoholic myself. I'm just kidding. We did start out this podcast saying that, and here we are now. So
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you don't gotta drink to enjoy it, but why not?
no,
Just,
no,
sit at a bar with your friends, play some games. Nothing
yeah,
more fun than that. And I do really feel LGS kind of struggling these days. So more tavern type board game esque breweries that have trading card games and stuff like that popping up will definitely be good. There's one or two. There's one here in Austin. So, and y'all had the one up in Dallas, but I think it closed down, right? The
yeah. They weren't
Farming.
really. They were a they were a gaming lounge
Yeah.
slash bar, and the concept was interesting. I don't know.
Hmm.
They were always busy, but I don't know what
Yeah.
the issue was. I think at the end of the day, there has to be more churn in a business like that. So what they
Sure.
had is a lot of people just showing up and playing games and not paying for any, like they might get a
Right.
couple
Not much
drinks,
food and drinks.
almost like
Yeah.
coffee shops. So like one of my first jobs out of or in high school was a barista, and
Mhm.
that business lasted maybe 5 years or so. But the thing we always struggled with was churn, right? So
Yeah.
it's a good and bad thing. People would always look and they'd say, "Wow, they're doing great business. The place is busy," and the owners would think like, "Hey, if it looks busy, then we'll have more business." But the fact is, some of those folks would be there like that was their office. They would sit at the
Yeah. They would just get a coffee and sit there for 5 hours.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, if you can embrace the LGS brewery bar element, that might be
Yeah.
something to look at for sure. And there's a lot of I don't know who else been to Austin or not, but that's totally the vibe over there for sure.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just an LGS that serves food would even,
Mhm.
probably be enough.
Have you thought about like how you do distribution on like rarity or print runs or how many cards are in a pack? How many cards are in a booster box? Um,
uh,
that's something I've always
so
go ahead.
yeah, not totally like fleshed out logistic wise on numbers and stuff like that, but I will say that since it's a commander style game, there's a boss and then like your commander,
Mhm.
and then it's meant to be a singleton format, so one copy of each card unless it says you can have more than one, just like Magic's commander. Um, so our goal, which is kind of crazy, um, is to make 1,000 unique cards for the first set.
Shoo!
Yeah,
Oh, hey.
because I mean, you
I
can't really play a singleton format game with multiple colors and stuff with just like 100 cards, regular like
that's
150 card
that's
set.
very true. That would make it a lot of I will say sorcery is what I think of when
Mhm.
I and what you're doing. What you're planning is I think over twice as ambitious as what they did. But
Yeah, theirs
that's
is like 400, 500, right?
yeah, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
400 something. But that's what makes opening sorcery so much fun. When
Hmm.
I was opening sorcery, I opened I opened a box, but I wish I had more because every now and then I look at a sorcery card and I go, I've never seen this card before.
Yeah, they have a lot.
Yeah. Usually, when you open a booster box of most things, you've seen just about all the cards,
Yeah,
save
you
for
open
a
two
few.
booster boxes, it's going to be mostly the same card.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So if you can do it, by all means.
Yeah, it's very ambitious, but yeah, it's definitely a goal.
Mhm. And I know a lot of people worry about sorcery. They're like, oh, one set a year, that's problematic. And I don't know where you land on that, how many sets a year you need, this, that, and the other. But I think, again, for me, I think one set a year works, at least for
Mhm.
sorcery, because there's so many cards in the card pool, the meta hasn't really been decided.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like shoving. So a lot of the traditional way to do it is 3 to 4 sets of a year. So it's really just like shoving that into one release instead of
Mm.
four drops a year. It's one drop a year. So I don't
Y-
know. I think it can work. And that
Maybe
doesn't mean you can't
promos.
do. Yeah, you can't do. It doesn't mean you can't do like supplementary products like alt art reprints and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
definitely room for exploring
Hmm.
more products than that. But yeah, I think one drop a year is fine if you're releasing a lot of cards.
Are there any takeaways you've had you've had more experience with TCGs, especially in the past like several years, than with a variety of them than most people in this industry. Is there any takeaways that in your time being associated with them, not the company specifically, but I can only list a few off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'm missing some. But I know at least through cardio there was like Rise, was it Akora,
Mhm.
MetaZoo, Cryptic, and some of these games are still around and they're still doing their thing. Is there any takeaways that you've sort of seen or witnessed during your time associating with these games and saying, hey, that's something that I would like to avoid when even doing my own game? Is there any learning experiences you've had through that?
The biggest one is stop over promising and under delivering, which
Mm.
most of the games have had a big problem with, making all these grand promises that don't come true. Uh, I mean, stay humble, like only do what you can do.
Mhm.
That's one of the big ones. Quality
Yeah.
control on product is another huge one. Like, definitely keep on top of whoever your printer is. Do some test prints, make sure it's actually up to snuff, and don't just print a huge set and ship it out and not know that it's actually a good product.
Oh,
Um, there's quite
that's
a few examples of that from indie games. We don't gotta name names, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's just sad because they really do love these games. And
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed is indie TCG fans, we've all been burned a little bit, but
Mhm.
a lot of us have open minds.
Yeah.
We're just a little skeptical still. So I've said this before, it's a trust thing. Everything's about earning people's trust
Oh yeah.
and making sure you know, when you are a new game, you have that transparency and, hey, look, here's what we're doing, here's what our
Yeah.
plan is. Maybe posting parts of the production process just so
Mhm.
that way it's clear, like, hey, there's been this delay, or hey, this, we thought we were going to get this, but it didn't turn out this way.
Yeah,
Uh,
communication definitely a big issue. People not communicating, stuff like that. You mentioned that
Huge.
before in the podcast. It's definitely another one of the biggest
Hmm.
issues. So just be honest, learn how to communicate.
Hmm.
You know, stuff happens. People will be upset, but the majority will be understanding if you actually tell them. There's the whole silent majority, vocal minority thing. So
Now, the one thing that so do you think this is just a general question I have. Do you think Discord is the way to go for all the communication, or do you think there should be more of a website or some way to communicate outside of just these channels? That's one thing I've noticed with all these indies.
Um, I think Discords are fine for like general communication and talking to people who are like community managers and stuff like that. But I think the big stuff should be like newsletters posted on a website where, you don't have to scroll for hours to find. Like it's all, here's the news and you can find it all in one place. Um, so definitely a mix of both. You need a good professional website, like news forums, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like look at more games should probably adopt the like PC games, stuff like that. They all have like news forums and everything. So just, just have a good organized website and then keep the non like semi-important information to like community managers that can communicate with your community.
Yeah, that's just huge to me. It just blows my mind. It seems like such a missed opportunity. It is work to like, keep up with a website and do a
Yeah.
newsletter. Let me tell you though, and a lot of people roll their eye like in digital marketing senses, newsletters seem like dinosaur level. They're just really, we got to send email. Nobody checks email. I look for when I get an email from. I play a game called Predecessor. It's a MOBA, free MOBA. It's on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. When
Stacking
they,
the decks by predecessor.
yeah, when they send me an email that talks about their updates, hot fixes, and things like that, I read it.
Yeah. Yeah. Important
I
information.
I'm engaged with it. You know what I
Yeah.
don't do? I don't go to their Discord to see what people are talking about. I don't even really go to their website. But I
Yeah.
play the game at least 2 or 3 times a week. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where I'm at with it. And sometimes even
I
the
think
email reminds me, like, oh yeah, I want to play Predecessor tonight.
right. Yeah. I think Discords are good for your community, but it definitely shouldn't be your main source of communication. Like, yeah, your community like posting guides and stuff like that, like that's a good place for it. But
Mhm.
the newsletters with your patch notes definitely more important.
Yeah. When you're going into cryptids, I think that was a really cool choice that MetaZoo had gone into. When you're for your game in regards to cryptids, are you thinking it's going to be more? Would you be reaching out to the like the cryptid community some more, or are you thinking more of just like the business end of it, where the breweries and such, or how am I phrase it? Like Mothman Festival?
Yeah.
Would you be looking at a similar model in that regard? Like, hey, you know, y'all have the
Uh,
Mothman Festival. Here's a card we could do, or
mhm. Uh, it would definitely be cool to go to some more of like the folklore festivals like that. Like
Mhm.
Mothman Festival, Van Meter Festival, those types of things. Yeah, I think that would be important. Good places to engage with the community. That's like one of the things MetaZoo did well,
I
to an
agree.
extent.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, definitely community events are important. Um,
there's a Flatwoods festival too that
yeah,
I was hoping. I
yeah.
I was hoping to. I don't know. I don't really. I'm not a huge cryptid fan, but being
Hmm.
exposed to them has put me onto them a little bit, and to this day I'm still kind of interested in things like Flatwoods Monster and Van Meter, and there's
Hmm.
definitely a void now that has me, thinking about those things and wanting to explore a little bit more of what some of that culture is, I guess, so to speak. Previously,
Yeah.
I could have been like, I don't give a damn about cryptids, but again, being exposed to them now, I want to believe.
Yeah, same. For sure. Yeah, and it's all like just folklore in general, just like learning the folklore of different communities and different countries and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like just learning past histories, stuff they believe in is really interesting.
Mhm. Now, in terms of lore, how important do you think lore is to a good TCG? Do you think it's just something that's, you know, hey, we got lore. Let's be honest. Um, I know there's lore to Magic, and I know there's lore to
Mhm.
Yu-Gi-Oh, and I know there's lore.
Is
Pokemon
there
has the most
though?
lore. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there like, do we do lore in name only just to say, hey, look, we're an IP.
Yeah.
Here's lore, and you point to a picture. It's like a stick figure dancing. It's like
Yeah.
we did it, or is it
Yeah.
something that's just you sort of own and say, yeah, the lore is it's what you make of it. You let the community sort of own it. Or
I I do think so. Um, Obscurids, name of the game if we haven't said it yet, is like using creatures from folklore. So it could be Shakespearean or like King Arthur, stuff like that. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
just be cryptids. But we definitely have like tried to do a little twist on some of the characters. So we posted some spoilers, like Pizza Rat. People have seemed to enjoy. Uh,
Yes.
and the idea behind like that is, I don't know if we posted it, maybe we have, but there's the Rat King who's the boss for like the rodents. And the whole idea is like there's like a medieval city under New York that's like a rat king, and you have your peasant rats and your soldiers and your royal rats and stuff like that. So little twists on stuff.
That's
Try-
awesome.
yeah.
I'm a sucker for the rat archetype.
Yeah.
As a general aside, one of my favorite movies is The Great Mass Detective. I don't know
Good
if I've
stuff.
okay, yeah. I brought that one up before a few times, and people are like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Y'all don't know
Oh,
Ratigan?"
no. Yeah, no.
Let me drop a little knowledge. Vincent Price did the voice for that guy, and Vincent. I
Oh,
don't know,
sure.
and I don't know if you know who Vincent Price is, but
Yeah,
he
definitely.
he's when
Legend.
when you hear his voice, you go, "Oh, this guy."
Yeah,
Okay, Google him, folks, if you're
yeah,
unaware.
definitely old movie legend.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of old movies, like I do think it's strange that Star Wars is making a comeback now. I hear a lot of people talking about the Star Wars hype, and I'm
Yeah, Disney's doing a lot of shows, pumping them out.
no, but there's
Yeah.
the Star Wars TCG.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. There's
I
the
haven't
Star
tried
Wars.
it yet. It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's the Star Wars TCG. Yet there's Lorcana as well, and I'm
Yeah,
assuming
is Disney involved in like the Star Wars TCG, or is it
no,
just
no.
licensed, I guess?
Yeah, it's
Oh, just
licensed. It's
licensed.
being
Okay.
produced by Asmodee, which
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
is
haven't looked into it too much, but I saw people playing it while I was playing Dragon Ball Fusion World. Shout out.
so again, when I think about there's just so many TCGs right now.
Yeah,
I'm talking
honestly.
about Star Wars, Lorcana, and when people are afraid of like indie TCGs as a whole, I think they're
Mhm.
afraid of where things could head. Maybe they've been burned before. What I'm trying to
Yeah,
get at is the market share is so wide. Like, if there's anything we've learned within the past year or even 6 months at this point, is there really is a lot of depth in breadth to this TCG market. Folks are
yeah,
looking for something that resonates with them. And
yeah. Like that, like Wonders of the First or whatever on Kickstarter just raised 1 million in like 0 seconds. So it's pretty wild out there still.
they they won that campaign, and I've heard a lot of stories. I don't want to give any credence to some of the rumors I've heard.
Mhm.
Brett, whether or not you think that's a true number, let's just say it is. I think that they did a really good job with their marketing campaign. I
Oh
don't
yeah, I was getting ads on like every time I opened my phone, I saw an ad for them. It's like this person likes trading card games, so you probably want to see this.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
it works. It works.
Mhm.
The last episode we had was essentially Easton and I pumping our services, which always feels a little rotten, but
No, it was a very good. I listened to that episode. It was good information. Definitely want to talk further about maybe using your services because I mean, who wants to run social media? That sounds gross.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like, here's the deal: you don't have to. It's really about having a knowledge resource, because one thing I
Yeah,
can find, even just through Googling, is if I wanted to create a TCG, I don't know where I would go to find information. I really don't. Like, who do you
yeah,
talk to unless other creators? And our world is built on the world as we know it is built on the backs of generations of failures.
yeah,
And I mean that in a very endearing and loving way. Like, things that we see and do every day, it's all iterative, until we finally find the right version of it. And I mean that in, hopefully we can learn from the mistakes of other games, other things that have happened. But the only way to do that is by talking and to the creators or people that were associated with these games.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
that way we can help build a better foundation to launch future brands. So, you know, again, I'm trying to avoid the salesy pitch of that stuff, because it is super corny. But at the end of the day, we all like playing games. Some of us have a bit of a drinking problem. And I say that jokingly, by the way, y'all. Please don't
No, I know.
report me, or don't tell my wife I'm saying. I am a responsible adult, I swear.
Yeah.
But we like
Hey.
playing. Shh. She doesn't know I'm doing this podcast. She doesn't even know what stacking the deck is. I'm just kidding. But we all want to build. We all want to have fun with our friends. We want to be social.
Yeah,
That's the core of
absolutely.
it.
That's what
We
it's all about.
we don't want to invest our time and effort and energy into something that is going to be fleeting, and knowing that you'll just wake up one day and it's just not there anymore. So,
Right.
hopefully we all can learn something, share some valuable knowledge and insights. That's why I was so happy to have you on tonight. I was like, and again, it's always the humble brag. Easton does it too, but I'm like, y'all's experience with even just cardio alone, subtract just your playing experience and other stuff like that. It is a wealth of valuable knowledge. So
Yeah, it was a good time for sure. Appreciate the props and stuff.
yeah, hey, it's
Yeah.
what to do. Um, with that, is there anything you would want? Is there any shout outs you want to do, or any socials you want to plug for the Obscurids audience, or any last bit of knowledge you'd like to share with our audience?
So definitely Obscurids very early in the stages of testing and even becoming an idea. So would love to come on again with John and maybe talk about it once it's more fleshed out.
Oh yeah.
Until then, Stab Crab Games has been promoting us. They're going to do some play testing. So if anyone wants to get involved, you could reach out to them, join their Discord. They have a sign up. And yeah, I guess just keep an eye out for more information on that. Like and subscribe, Stacking the Deck for sure. Yeah, Ed and Easton definitely helping spread the knowledge in the TCG world.
We're
You know,
trying. We're trying.
props to me. Y'all definitely deserve some props as well.
Yeah, we're out here. We out here.
Yeah, we out here. Definitely let me know when you come to Austin. We'll play some games.
Oh, you bet. I think the best excuse for me, because I'm in dad mode right now, the best excuse for me is like Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals. Even though that's not, I don't even know if that's a viable excuse. I'm just gonna try it. Okay.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, yeah, Fort Worth Collecticon coming up too. That's my excuse to try to go up there.
if you go, let me know, because we're gonna hit the spot. The coffee spot.
Yes.
Now we're not playing in any tournament, but there's the coffee spot that we got to go to.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
And
I really wanted to like try to recreate the caster ranch, but like not be as sweaty and like worried about winning caster cup, but just get some of us all to get an Airbnb together and have a good time playing games.
That was a whole. This sounds. That was a whole vibe.
Yeah.
When I hear that, I roll my eyes, but there's no other way to explain that.
No, it really was. We'll have to, whenever Easton's back, we'll have to do another show and just talk about the good old days.
what we could do is we might do like a live show. I think that would be good for the Fort Worth event. So stay tuned for that, y'all. I think I may have just committed us to it, but yeah, looking forward to talking with you and John and potentially hearing from some other creators as well at the event to get some of their insights.
Yeah, and just creators chatting with each other and propping each other up would be huge. Like Chronicles of Arcane, I talked to him a little bit, and he offered like if we needed any help with printing or anything like that to like teach us, some production resources. So it's not all like cutthroat. I think if one of us wins, we all win, and we should, people working on indie projects should prop each other up.
That's exactly the point of this. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, like I got some people who love to play games. Like I'll send them your way, you send yours my way. Like there's no reason to share. We can't share resources and all win together.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
TCGs it's a gateway drug. If you've done one, if you give a mouse a cookie, that's the best way I'll phrase it. They might want some milk, and they'll want another thing. That's how this stuff goes. So
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I appreciate you stacking the deck with
stack it up.
Just me tonight. So I appreciate you hanging out. I'm looking forward to seeing you and yeah. I tried fanning. I tried doing it earlier. I think I told you I was too afraid of it sounding like a fart noise.
Those were some business cards, so it's a little bit louder.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you stacking the deck with me. Looking forward to seeing you in Fort Worth, potentially Austin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll have to get you and John on here sometime soon in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Love to be back.
Awesome. All right. Well, you take it easy, okay?
All right, you too. Have a good night.
Peace.